In the world of wrestling, strength isn't just measured by muscle, but by endurance, agility, and the will to power through. Picture the titans of the ring, dashing with ferocity, their every step shaking the ground beneath them. They're not just athletes, they're warriors in a modern-day coliseum, engaging in an eternal dance of tactics and sheer might. Running the ropes isn't just about speed. It's a game of strategy, a test of fortitude. Picture the electricity that fills the air as they bounce back, ready to make their move. It's a dance, a performance, a battle. In wrestling, every moment counts. Every step, every bounce, every breath is part of something bigger. It's not just a sport. It's a spectacle. It's a world where heroes are made, where legends are born. This is the world of wrestling. This is Running the Ropes. Good evening, afternoon, or I guess midday, maybe in some places, but it's another edition of Running the Ropes. Normally I say it's a fabulous Tuesday, but because of scheduling conflicts and things like that and plans I had earlier in the week, my guest tonight was very gracious to push it to Thursday. And we found a time that would benefit both of us. So we are here and live, and I'm excited for this one, folks. I haven't known this guest very long, but the wealth of wrestling knowledge is probably unparalleled. And it can be none other than Professor Bear. Welcome, Professor Bear. How are you?
Man, I'm doing great. I'm so happy to be here and to do this, as I like to call it, this it's like the wise man. It's like Paul Heyman and Jim Cornette getting together without any problems.
I'm telling you. Yeah, it's once I was introduced to you and just got to hear you talk on wrestling in general, I was blown away, and I was like, this is a man after my own heart. We have so much in common. We're close to the same age. I think you got me by a couple of years, but that's all right. Very similar type of backgrounds and whatnot. But so I'm like, man, I know if I could have him on, I have to jump at that chance. So thank you very much for coming on.
Oh, anytime.
So, man, where do I start? I guess we always have to start at the beginning. You saw the interview with Brady that we had last week. So I'll start off with the same question I asked him to start. How and why did you get involved in wrestling?
I got involved in wrestling because of my father, Herman Cade Sr., God rest his soul. He was a big wrestling fan. And because Dad was a wrestling fan, that meant everybody in the house was going to be wrestling fans. And as one of my first memories, I can remember us going to wrestling, and we would go like every week or every 2 weeks, and we would go to the live wrestling. And that was so amazing. And at the time, I didn't realize how blessed I was for living in Knoxville, Tennessee, because it has a wealth of wrestling knowledge and history and nostalgia that is, as a lot of people say, Madison Square Garden is the Mecca. Well, to me, you can't beat Knoxville for just history, all types of history from the NWA to WWE to Continental Wrestling. It's just so much. And luckily enough, as a kid, I loved it and soaked it in. And I'm blessed that I still remember a lot of it.
Yeah, yeah. So similar to me, where I grew up in New England, let's see, Tennessee, that what Crockett territory.
Yes.
The Cornette was down there.
Oh,
Well, I mean, Lawler came later, but he still wrestles in. Well, I don't know if he still wrestles, but still does a lot of stuff for Memphis
yes.
wrestling. So, my geography stinks. I don't remember exactly how far Knoxville is from Memphis, but
6 hours.
6 hours. All right. Well, I mean, but still close enough where you could, especially if you knew in advance, you could make it to, some maybe a little further live shows. And, and those people that are stationed there in Memphis would travel over in your area as well. So, yeah, that's awesome. So growing up, did you have a favorite wrestler?
Ooh. Well, I guess if I really look back into those times, yeah, I guess I can name some of my favorites because it's always hard to name that top guy. But Thunderbolt Patterson, oh man, he was just big. Bullet Bob Armstrong, man. Even though Bob was not from Knoxville, Jesus, you could not tell anybody because he had a stronghold here. Him and his sons, they just had a real big stronghold here. Of course, the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. Dusty touched. That was probably the greatest thing about Dusty to me than any other athlete that did it back then, even currently. And you can see so much of this in Cody. No matter what your race is, your religion, how you feel, Dusty could touch you. There are rare wrestlers who have the ability to really bond with the audience and made you feel like you were a part of his family and could talk to anybody. Didn't matter. Even if you didn't know English, Dusty could make you fall in love with him. And probably that was my number one. Probably my number one guy was Dusty.
Yeah, I definitely could see that. No matter male, female, black, white, red, green, yellow, whatever, it doesn't matter. He was relatable somehow. That presence, and I've only seen it a couple of times with other wrestlers. Big Show. Extremely relatable to everyone. And I remember, and I've seen videos of Dusty when he was walking through the crowd, and he would stop and look and just give somebody a nod and a wink. And, it's like, yeah, that's my guy. Now, I remember I was at an event, and I was standing down the walkway, and this was when Show was still in WCW, and I had talked to him the night before, and because I had just met him out, and I was standing on the walkway the next night as he came in, and I said, "Give him help, Paul." And he just kind of looked over and, and looked at me, and he laughed and just gave me a wink and a nod. and I'm like, "Oh, all right." So yeah, he heard me. I was like, "Oh, I wonder if he's even going to hear me." And he was just one of those type of people that is just relatable to everybody. Everybody loves to talk to him. Everybody wants to talk to him. Yeah, it's that's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
I since we talk about the big show, I'm gonna give you a fact that a lot of people know but don't know. The Big Show, when he was in WCW, he got kicked out the NWO twice, right?
Yeah.
Did you realize he got kicked out both times in Knoxville, Tennessee?
Really?
Both times. The first time they were at the Coliseum and they kicked him out. The second time they were at the University of Tennessee's arena and they kicked him out. Both times I was there when he got kicked out. So if you mention anything to Big Show and say Knoxville, he probably, if he gets a little ugly with you, that's the reason why.
It's been many years since I've got to talk with some of the wrestlers. I had, and I think I mentioned it when I was on with Brady, but the Friendly Tap was one of my local watering holes, and it was owned by one of the referees, Tim White.
Yes, sir.
And his brother, well, as far as I know, and I didn't go by this last April when I went back home, but the last time I was up there, his brother still owned it and still in the same spot, still telling the same stories. It's just one of those places. So it's been a while since I've been up there, but man, I tell you, it's I would love to go and have a chat with some of the older guys now, just to catch up and see how they're doing. So growing up as a territory guy like me, where you didn't get to see them all the time, the advent of the weekly television show wasn't the greatest while we were coming up, to where the product is now, where we actually get to see storylines develop and get sucked into the wrestling business that way. Which do you prefer? Do you prefer just the straight, give me a great wrestling match and I'll fill in my own story? Or do you like the storyline driven wrestling type?
I'm definitely the story driven wrestling. Like you said, growing up, that's what I was raised on. Georgia Championship Wrestling. That's one of the big ones that was we had. And I can remember when Roddy Piper, before he became the WWE Piper, he was the same person. He was arrogant. He was big mouth, but he would bag it up. And no matter what, it was a story behind him running his mouth. Ole Anderson, who, God rest his soul, does not get enough credit for what he's done for wrestling. He may have been a racist. He may have been a big mouth. He may have been a dick, but he put his love and abilities into the wrestling business, and he definitely does not get the appreciation that he really deserves for it. But I mean, to me, anytime you are able to tell a story and you make that story believable, that's how you are able to suck in fans. That when your emotions is vested into that storyline, I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. Yes, like I'm a big AEW fan. I love that when they wrestle, they're gonna wrestle, and they tell a story when they're wrestling. But I also love when they get the storyline and make it mean more.
Mm-hmm.
Me, like one of the current storylines I'm following now is Hangman Adam Page and Swerve Strickland.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people, I think, don't realize that they did the same thing that Austin and Bret Hart did. Bret was so right in everything he was doing and saying, but people was tired of it.
Yeah.
It was stale to them. And this badass, this against the rule guy, he got to do it, and people fell in love with it, and they did the double turn, and it made it that much more when they fought. It's like, man, I hate that guy. And you can see why Bret was justified.
Yeah.
That's why I love the swerving Page, because no matter what Page does, I agree with him. This man broke into his house and cut a promo on his son, his infant son. And we're going to just give him a pass for it. Come on. No, and it's like, Hangman is right. But we love Strickland so much, we're willing to forgive. Well, you didn't bust the baby open, so it's okay.
Yeah, it definitely allows us to give people a pass when the wrestling and story meet up. Very similar to Austin and Hart and how that all shook out. And I think man, AEW has come a long way on their storytelling. I don't think they're quite up to WWE level yet as far as storylines go, but what AEW has is, even if there's not a storyline, they have fantastic matches. And even in their match, even if it's a one-off, they can tell a story while they're wrestling. Whereas WWE, yeah, they do that a little bit, but it's more of what all has been going on during this run, whether it's the SummerSlam run, and then after SummerSlam we'll have the Rumble run, and then after Rumble you have the WrestleMania run, and all the storylines meet up to this wrestling event, and then they start a new storyline. Some of them work, some of them don't, and we'll talk about some of those storylines here in just a little bit. So I know you've been to a lot of live events. Do you know about how many?
Oh no, I honestly have no clue, and I can truly tell you, it's not as many as I would love it to be, but I just been blessed to be at some good ones. Like I was able to see the debut of Okada in Atlanta. Oh my God, I was at great moment, and getting to see. I would tell anybody, spend the money if you get to see a Will Ospreay match. You will not be disappointed. Luckily it was Will Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher.
Mm-hmm.
Kyle doesn't get enough credit for his ability either. They tore the house down. I was just I bucket list. I'm like, oh, thank you. I can say I seen Will Ospreay live. It was great.
Awesome. So, do you have a favorite live event that you've gone to?
Um, I, ugh, I can tell you two of the biggest I've been to, and I say it like I got to do the Royal Rumble when Edge came back.
Mm,
That was the first time. That was in Atlanta. I was happy because it was a Royal Rumble, but I was disappointed because it was a so-so Royal Rumble.
yeah.
Um, then the following year, I got to go to WrestleMania in Atlanta. I was happy because I was at WrestleMania. I was so pissed that it was The Miz versus John Cena. It and the Undertaker and Triple H match was so disappointing to me. It just broke my heart.
Ah,
It was like, oh, what's wrong with you, Taker? Come on, no, no. Then after I found out, I'm like, oh, no wonder that match was crap. But one of those matches that I got to see that nobody ever talks about because it was the pre-match was Daniel Bryan and Sheamus for the U.S. title.
mm,
It was tremendous. It was great. Then the next year they had the 6-second match. So I was happy that I got to see that, and it was actual wrestling match. I forgot the other big one. What was it? It was in Nashville, and it was supposed to be in Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns for the title, but Roman got sick, and they replaced him. I think Dean replaced him, and that was a good one. I really had a great time at that one. I've been to so many WCWs when they were in business. I had a lot of them, but just like I think the best one, and it could be because of recency bias, but the best one was the recent one I went to because my wife, she wasn't a wrestling fan, and she loves to go now. And we go to a lot of independent wrestling. She loves it. It's just so amazing to her. And I get a kick out of her being happy. I get a kick out of being able to talk to some of the wrestlers. And those are the ones I really do like. And I think cherish just a little bit more.
that's awesome. I was trying to think. I've only been to a few PLEs or pay-per-views as they were known back in the day. I've been to quite a few live events, whether it's house shows, whether it's Raws, SmackDowns, WCW, whether it's was Thunder or Nitro or whatnot. But I think the best one that I went to was Backlash in 1999. They recorded Sunday Night Heat beforehand, and we saw everybody from like Val Venus was there, D'Lo Brown was there, Draws, was it Lawler's kid?
Ryan Christopher.
Yeah, and Scott Taylor,
Right.
Kane, Bossman, Test was there. several of like the what do you call them, ministry
Oh,
darkness. I think that's who it was that was still there. So Bradshaw and Farouk, who then became APA after that. The Brood, got to see the Brood entrance. That was pretty cool. But the main headline was Stone Cold versus The Rock. And Shane McMahon was the guest referee for that one. And of course, Big Show was there. Mankind, or Mick Foley. Undertaker showed up for that one as well. That was a lot of fun. A lot of big names on that. But as much as I've enjoyed some of the pay-per-views, I think some of my favorites have come down to house shows. And I love it. It's more of a special moment because the wrestlers aren't always focused on what's going on camera, and they can have fun. And you can definitely tell the difference. Whether it's dancing in the crowd or whatnot. It was big. I think the only other one that I could compare it to, I remember I went to a Monday Night Raw, and it was when DX had gotten back together. They had already broken up, and then they were going to do a reunion. And you had Billy Gunn and X-Pac and Road Dogg came down, and they did the big ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. And, I got to hear that, live, which was pretty cool. And it was the end of the night. And so they all stand up on the ring corners and throw out shirts and whatnot. And then they give the signal that the cameras are now off. And so they give a big hug in the ring, and they start shaking hands all around. And then the guy next to me, and I don't even remember what he said. He said something stupid to Triple H. And Triple H says, "What did you just say?" And the guy repeated it. And Triple H proceeded to jump over the barricade and started going to town on this guy. And I'm like, oh my goodness. And yeah, that was pretty crazy. I don't think because you always see, the heels, oh, I'm gonna, don't make me come over there. And to have, Trips jump over the barricade and just grab a hold of this guy. And I'm like, security came down there, and I knew the security, so I knew I was all right. But
right.
and like, oh yeah, it's that guy right there, and that was pretty interesting. So
your story made me think of two things. House show where Eddie Guerrero and Ray were the tag team champions. And I think they were wrestling the Basham brothers. And Ray was getting beat up. And Eddie was trying to get the tag. Well, the ref kept yelling at Eddie, get the tag rope, get the tag rope. So Eddie kind of turned his back to the ref, took the tag rope, hooked it to the rope, and he would run down. And the ref like, hold the tag rope. He just hold it up. He's like, no, get in the corner. Like you said, just so much fun that he was cracking up. Ray getting beat up started laughing. So that and the for me too is a big moment. NXT, when they first started doing house shows, they actually did one here. And of course, at the time, Bianca Belair was in NXT,
Mhm.
and she had a shot at Amber Moon for the title. So I was really excited because I know I went to school with Bianca's cousin, one of her cousins. We good friends, but I was out getting a drink or something and ran into Bianca's dad, who went to school with my brothers and sisters. So they know each other very well. Well, he saw me and he's like, "Hey, how you doing? How's your sister? I ain't talked to her." "Oh, she doing good." And I said, "Oh, you thinking I'm my brother?" Because we get mixed up so much. And he's like, "Nah, I know who you are. You the baby." And I'm like, "Yeah, okay, cool." That was impressive. And we was just standing there talking. And he's like, "Yeah." He said, "Yeah, afterwards, after the match, we all gonna get in the ring." And I'm like, "Oh man, that's cool." So Amber beat her. And like he said, afterwards, everybody did a standing ovation. She brought the parents and family in. And I was just like, man, that just makes me feel proud to know somebody actually and is doing well, and seeing what she does now. I'm just proud of her. And another one that does not get the recognition is Ivy Niles is from Knoxville.
Oh, okay.
And she is doing real well. So I'm always glad to hear my hometown mentioned. Like, yeah, just makes me feel just a tad bit better.
Yeah, yeah. It's well, all right. So now I know who to contact about getting some wrestlers on the show. There, I mean, hook a fellow up here. You know,
I'm trying. I, I know. A matter of fact, I had somebody tell me, "Oh, I know such and such. I get you in contact." I'm like, "Okay, we'll see."
yeah, yeah. But yeah. I mean, it's always fun to cheer for hometown people that do well. I've tried unsuccessfully so far to play the cousin card for John Cena, and I still can't get it. He's the sixth cousin of mine, and I'm trying to get him to at least acknowledge that, dude, we're family. Come on, help me out. And
Right.
maybe when he's retired officially, and we'll talk about that later in just a little bit too. But maybe when that happens, maybe then, maybe he'll acknowledge me, and and I can maybe do an interview with him. That would be great. Because maybe I could have a conversation with because I got two famous cousins. They're both six cousins. So I got John Cena and I got Taylor Swift. So if I could get them to, hey, you know what? We're all family. Let's just have a conversation.
Let's have a big family reunion on camera.
Why not? Why not? You know what? If they agree, I'll figure out a way. I'll go back up to Rhode Island, since she's got a house out there and he's in Massachusetts. It's 30 minutes away. Come on over. We'll have a nice little barbecue. I'll show you how we do it down south.
That's perfect.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to step aside from the personal questions, and we're going to talk about something. I guess it would be the logo that is on your shirt there, and I'm not referring to the bear one, because we've already recognized that you are the Professor Bear, not to be confused with any sort of other undergraduate bears or whatnot. You are the one and only Professor Bear. But you also have a hand in an organization, a network, if you will.
if you will, baby.
Of wrestling called WSN, Wrestling Society Network. So, and of course, last week we had the CEO of WSN on, Brady Owens. So if you haven't seen that episode, when you're done with this one, head on over, check that one out. It was great. Loved having him on. It was first ever interview. So I was excited. But what drew you in to WSN?
It was not only just my passion for wrestling, it was getting to talk to Brady and hearing his passion and his vision. It was really refreshing to hear. Again, we are all the fans, and people, I know sometimes I think, oh, I'm the biggest wrestling fan, or these people are biggest wrestling fan, or whatever. But to me, it's very rare that you get to sit and talk to somebody whose passion matches yours, or even surpass it. And just the conversation we had after I sent in my video, because he asked me for a short video, and he was just like, bruh, I need you. We can do some things. I have stuff in mind. And if you trust me, and I'm sitting there like, okay, yeah. And then just, like I said, the off-camera conversations and his passion. Again, every time I go on any interview, I always mention Brady. I always give him props, let everybody know, hey, you just see me. I may be just the face of it right now, but I'm not the man. I'm definitely not the man. Brady is the man. He's the owner. He's the CEO. He's the creator of this. He was just very gracious to bring me along and to help me, is willing to listen to my ideals and just branch out. And for me too, it is the just the great fans. But at this point, we are family.
Yeah.
I mean, Brady has hit me up many occasions about different things, personal stuff. I've hit him up. I mean, he knows what I'm going through now. And he's like, bro, take some time off, do this. He's always willing to he tells anybody who works with him, your life comes first. If you have to take time off, we can make time off. He tells anybody this. He is not a boss. Yes, it's his idea. He runs it, but he wants you to feel that you have just as much say. Just to give your thing. And anytime you feel like it's not enough or it's too much or whatever, he's willing to let you step away. No hard feelings, no disrespect. He's just such a great guy. And I'm so blessed to meet him and be able to call him family.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And yeah, I feel the same way. We've had, or he and I have had conversations away from, the wrestling stuff and whatnot. He lives in an area that I used to live in. We probably know a lot of the same people. And when I was first introduced to him, I had no idea. But again, that common thread of wrestling and passion for it really drew me in. And I gotta say that the more I talk with everybody that's involved with WSN, the more impressed I am with each and every one of you, because you do reach out and say, hey, what's going on? How's life? Forget about wrestling. How's life? You doing all right? Awesome. Cool. hey, I have a question about this. And people will jump on. Oh, here's how you do this, or here's the answer to whatever you're asking. So yeah, it's an amazing feeling. But so, what is your official position with WSN?
I am the co-president of WSN. I also do a lot of scouting for majority of the independent promotions that we have. I'm scouting them. I reach out. I talk to. I will some of the editing. I do some of that. Whatever is needed, I try to pitch in. We're going to start working on merchandising. A lot of that's going to go through me. So I now have 2 press machines. I got things where in my basement, so when I get to going, I can go. I can make. It's like, okay, I got this time frame. I'm going this out with it. So, and then some of the videos, and with our app, we hadn't even put, I always say around 30%. We have so much different things that we are going to add. I have a couple of different shows that I've done that I enjoy. So I'm all over the place, but I'm happy to be all over the place. One of the biggest things someone asked me was, how are you able to accomplish so much? I said, because I love it. This is a joy to do. It's my passion. As a little kid, like, I always watched wrestling and I was like, man, if I could do this. So as a teenager, I had action figures and I had an old AWA wrestling ring. And one day I was sitting there, I'm like, I can run a promotion. And I got a book out, still have it to this day. And I made a promotion. I had tournaments for the titles, the pay-per-views, the weekly shows. And how I determined most things was with a coin flip. And that's how I was able to make a storyline go. If the heels won, then I was making the storyline so we could go that direction. As the face won, I went this direction. And I did that. And to this day, for me, I am so blessed to have even this foot in the door of pro wrestling. I will never disrespect it. There's so many people out there that do way much more than I do. And I always want to give them their respect and love, give them the understanding, hey, I respect your business. No, I'm not trying to crap on it. I'm just trying to enhance it. Mm-hmm. And just show that respect.
That's awesome. That's cool. So one of the cool features that we just had in this, I guess is now what, a week?
Yep.
What's today? Today's the
11th.
The 11th. Yeah. So a week today, we launched the WSN website. And let me pull this up real quick. So it is the WrestlingSociety.com. It's all one word, the WrestlingSociety.com. And there's so much that is on there, whether it's movies that feature wrestlers, TV shows that feature wrestlers, whether it's podcasts or a group chat with fellow like-minded wrestling fans. We have our 2K stuff is on there. We have our merch shop that's on there that you referenced. And there's a lot more to come.
Oh yeah. Like I recently added pictures of me and my wife at independent shows where we got to take pictures with wrestlers or they in the ring and stuff. And one of the things that I definitely have to give a shout out to is oh my God, the NWA Women's Champion. She is such a sweetheart, and from the first day I met her, she, without having to give her anything to prod, she asked me, did I want her to cut a promo for us? She cut a promo for us. And I just saw her in June, and we talked, and I was like, oh, the first time I met you, you were a tag champ. Now you're the women's heavyweight champ. And she's like, good. And I was telling her how we were doing and about to launch the website. And she was like, well, that means I got to cut you another promo. She cut me and cut us another promo right there. And her, matter of fact, let me break out the picture real quick. Right there.
There you go.
Kenzie Page. Kenzie is a sweetheart. Her sister is a sweetheart. They are just some of the most nicest and sweetest people on earth. And if you see this, Ken, I love you. I thank you for everything you've done for us. What you will do for us, you're just an amazing person. Thank you.
That's awesome. Yeah, we'll definitely have to tag her in this once we get it uploaded to our Facebook. So yes, this is going live out on YouTube right now. We still are having technical difficulties trying to get it ported over to where it goes both to YouTube and Facebook. But that's all right. I will get it over there and we can tag everybody in it. And for those that haven't seen it on YouTube live, they can go back and watch the replay. So I know that we have a lot of irons in the fire. Is there one that you're particularly excited for?
I think the merch thing is real big because I was always that kid who wanted merch, but parents couldn't afford it. And it's like, so that I like to make different ones for people, I think is very cool. I am super excited too about the magazine. That is a big one. As a kid, especially like you were saying, back when we grew up, cable wasn't that big with different shows and you didn't have the internet. So you had to get your information from the magazines. And I have my magazines from when I was a kid. And I think, well, the earliest one I can remember, and I know I still have, was from 1985. And I was a big Pro Wrestling Illustrated guy. So I started collecting them in 88. And I went to, I want to say the beginning of 2000s. I have everyone up to then.
Oh, wow.
When the first PWI ranking, I got, I think the first 6, 7, something like that. So I loved it. I got to learn about different professional wrestling in different parts of the country. I was blessed that we had cable and was able to watch the World Class. Oh my God. Between World Class, the AWA, and at first we were based in Georgia Championship Wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
Black Friday happened with McMahon bought it. Then Mid Atlantic bought it from McMahon. So then we had the NWA. And the funny part about it for me is back in the territory, you could do one storyline and you could do it in another one because nobody's seen it and not used to it. And when I used to watch NWA before it was WCW, they were running some of the same storylines that they had previously done in the Virginia area in North Carolina. I'm like, man, I know that. You just okay. But it was still fun for me, and especially as a kid, and you truly believe that. Oh man.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's cool. So, do you have a favorite to watch now? Like, so you got your TNAs, you got your WWEs, whether it's Raw, SmackDown, or NXT. You got your AEW shows, or you have, your local promotions. Is there one that you just like, oh, I've got to see this either as often as it comes through, or every week, or what do you really enjoy watching and consuming right now?
Honestly, I kind of try to assume everything. It's easy because WWE is on all the time and AEW. The one that I wish would get more local or bigger so they can have a bigger network is TNA. I catch it every now and then. I still keep up with New Japan and New Japan Strong. Here there's a local wrestling called what is it? Oh my goodness. Jim Kazarian, and it's more of the go back. It's the throwback to territorial days, and their storyline is basically the 80s. So I really enjoy that. But I consume it so much. Sometimes I'll break away from it for a second and won't watch it, and then I go back to watch it so I don't feel rushed or sometimes right. And I think you'll understand what I'm about to say. You can be watching wrestling but not watching it. Mm-hmm. You're looking at it, but you really ain't paying it any attention. And then later you have to go back and, oh, I'm glad because I didn't see this or this, mm-hmm. this. So a lot of times I do that.
Yeah. In fact, I had to do that for the last Money in the Bank. From watching so much wrestling and being behind the scenes of a lot of wrestling and learning a lot of it from behind the scenes, and to see some of the mistakes that were made that not a lot of people catch, and I get distracted. And I'm like, oh, all right. Well, it's like, and then even was it Clash at the Castle when they had the rope that was not snug too tight,
right?
Top rope, and everybody kept falling off of it. I'm like, well, you should know, but it's like, all right, the first time it happened. All right, now tell everybody, hey, top rope's loose. We can still work with it, but you got to modify your set. You could do that, but they didn't, and thankfully nobody got hurt. But yeah, I get distracted easily if I see something, a wrestler calling a spot.
Yeah.
That the microphone is just a little too close or whatever, or you see him doing it. A particular tap on the shoulder or on the arm, depending on where it is, lets them know what's coming next. And, I'll catch that and I'm like, oh, okay. All right. So I ended up having to go back and watch Money in the Bank again, just because there were a lot of spots that I saw that kind of broke me away from it. So
I tell you what I enjoy now too is when me and my wife watch it and she spots something. It was like, baby, he just did that. Yeah, yep, you're right. So it's like, wow, she's getting hipped on the calls and she's always asking. A lot of times we'll be watching. She's like, oh, Rasmon, let me shut up. Like, I'm taking you away from it. I'm like, no, it's cool. No, it's not. So, and like I said, for me, she's like, oh, she just told this. Look, this is about to happen. And it happened. She just so excited. I'm like, man, you getting the hang of it, love.
there you go. So tag team or singles?
Tag teams.
Okay. Do you have a favorite tag team?
Whew. Probably. So it kind of changes for me. My favorite tag team got to be Tully Blanchard and Arn Anderson. Got to be. I mean, they broke the mold as far as tag team that don't have to talk. They don't have to throw signals. They know one another. That was one of the biggest things about Arn and Tully I love to death. Rock and Roll Express, great tag team. The Midnight Express, great tag team. But it was just something about Arn and Tully. And you would think they were like brothers, which made the Horsemen for me even better. It was like they didn't have to say it. Something happened, and Arn is always there. Arn throws somebody, Tully is right there waiting on it. And that, for me, was one of my greatest tag teams. I'd be remiss in not to talk about the Road Warriors. I mean, that should get acknowledged every time you say tag team. You need to acknowledge the Road Warriors. They were the first team to ever hold the top tier titles in the U.S. They held the AWA, the NWA, the WWF titles. No other tag team had accomplished that. Tully and Arn were the first tag team to win the WWF and NWA title. That was something unheard of a tag team to win both of the major titles. And when the Road Warriors did it, it was like it was just it. I mean, then I can mention I love Doom. At the time, Ron Simmons and Butch Reed, loved them. I think of the Dudley Boys. Pound for pound, the Dudleys have every right to be called the greatest tag team ever. They've won every major tag team in the world. The only team that comes close and is my modern favorite tag team is FTR. And they're so much like Arn and Tully. I was so happy that they put Tully with them and Arn with them for a little while. So, I could go on and on about tag team. That just I would rather be a tag team champion than a world champion.
When I wrote down the question, I had a feeling that you were going to say tag. And I didn't know if or how you were going to break it up, but my first thought was just because between the four of them, I mean, Rick and Ole and Arn and Tully, it didn't matter who was with who. And for most of the tag stuff, Tully and Arn, were always together. but even if they switched it up, it was like nothing. They just kept plugging along, and I loved watching them. I loved back in the day when the Von Erichs would get together.
Oh,
And because I went to so like middle school and high school in Dallas, and so or in Texas area, we go to Dallas and we could go watch them at the Sportatorium, and that's another just that family bond that just transcends wrestling. They knew what they were thinking. They, at any time, and they always seemed to pick it out, and were there for each other. Comedically, Attitude Era, Rock and Mick Foley. They weren't the best tag team, but they created so much together on the fly. And it was just, it was something wonderful to watch. And they would always push the limits and would try new stuff. Well, let's see if this works tonight. Well, let's see if we could do this. And they fed off each other so well it was just fun. They brought the fun back to wrestling at that time, because it was really during that Attitude Era. It was all out war for ratings, whether it was between WCW and WWE or WWF. And everybody, McMahon wouldn't let them really go beyond that scope of stick to the program, stick what's here. And then when those two got together, and they could create whatever they wanted to, and it was glorious, absolutely glorious.
I tell you, I can name a lot of things I can't name or say, well, this was this was great. I can tell you my favorite tag team match of all time, by far. Super Brawl 1. The Steiner Brothers versus Lex Luger and Sting will always, for me, go down as the greatest tag team match of all time. For them to all be friends, all of them know the business, and it was still at that little time of everybody didn't trust Lex, but Sting vouched for Lex. And man, that was I love that match. Even to this day, I will go back and watch that match and just hate that it got destroyed by Nikita Koloff. But just pound for pound, they hit each other like they were the worst enemies. And I loved it. They held back nothing. And to me, will always be the greatest tag team match of all time.
I just watched the match, and I don't remember which Mania it was, but Hardys versus the Dudleys versus Edge and Christian. And that was such a good match.
Yes, it was.
Oh, that was such a good match. They spot fest for sure, but knowing the way that those teams respect each other and are friends away from there, and the way that they took care of each other in that ring to make that magic. Oh, amazing. Absolutely amazing.
It is a spot fest but a story. And
Yes.
that's what I loved about it. It was like, oh, this spot, but it was always a story. It was a reason for everything. And like you said, the timing, good God Almighty. And they made sure that the other person did not get hurt.
Yeah. Yeah. So I would be remiss if I didn't say something about the many gaming consoles behind you. I've been kind of staring at them throughout I see a Dreamcast, I see a Wii, I see a GameCube, I see one that almost looks like a TurboGrafx 16 that's over there.
It's actually a Sega Master System.
Okay. I was thinking in front. I see the Master System in the back, but right in front of it, it kind of looks like the old TurboGrafx 16 that would play the laser discs.
This is actually the Sega CD.
Oh, okay.
The Sega CD and the Genesis.
Yeah. So I think you're as big a gamer as I am then.
Oh yeah. Matter of fact, let me turn my camera a little bit. If I can turn it. All my games.
Oh yeah. See, there we go.
Yeah.
So at the time that, I guess it was the original Xbox was out, I had every game system that was ever made and games for it. So I'm talking the Intellivision, ColecoVision, all the Ataris, including the Jaguar. And I had them all operational, and I think I was 4 or 5 TVs. I had them all hooked up to, but then I moved and was like, man, I'm not going to take all this with me. And so I ended up parting it out, and really wish I hadn't. But I used to be the manager for GameStop. And now it's still now I out in the living room, I have a small monitor and my PS5 hooked up, just so I could play WWE 2K24, which we'll talk about here in a second as well, because I think WSN is going to come out with another season of Proving Ground and Underground. And I went back just because I'm enjoying so much of the WSN product that I went back and watched the first 2 seasons of Proving Ground. And I believe I heard somebody on commentary on there. I think it was you that was on there, or maybe it was a guest spot or whatnot, but pretty sure you were on commentary for some WWE 2K. I'm not sure which year it was, because that was, let's see, I guess season 2 was last year. So, but yeah, you think we're going to get you on for some more 2K content soon?
Not to give any spoilers, but I think I'm going to have something to do with it.
Uh-oh. All right. Well, yeah, I think that I think the cat was already out of the bag, that there's going to be some involvement from me on there as well. I believe that we'll get an appearance of a new wrestler just coming on the scene that goes by the name The Blueprint. Because no bones about it, it's the foundation of wrestling. It's the excellence that everything is built on. The Blueprint is coming.
I love it.
Anyway, so yeah. But yeah, all right. Well, one last question before we get to some headlines and news and things. There's been many wrestlers touted as the greatest of all time. But you, the Professor Bear, who would you say is really the greatest of all time?
For me, the greatest of all time is a simple thing. It is, you have to be all around. You have to be a showman. You have to be a wrestler. You have to get butts and seats. You have to be able to cut a promo. You have to sell when there's no sale there. You have to draw people in when you have competition. And for me, there is no one better. They may be a little more famous, but there's no one better all around than the Nature Boy Ric Flair. Ric Flair, and again, am I biased towards a Horseman? Yes, I am. But Rick has done so much in his career for the business of wrestling. He made it uber real. When he said he was spending money, Rick was spending money. When Rick was saying he was drinking, Rick was drinking. When Rick was hollering different women at Space Mountain, they were going to Space Mountain. When Rick said he can do 60 Minutes, Daddy, and go another, Rick did it night after night after night. Rick, to me, is the ultimate. If you look up wrestling, the first picture you need to see is Ric Flair. Now, I always give this guy crap because I personally do not care for him. But I give him his respect because if it wasn't for him, I believe wrestling would not be where it is today. As much as it pains me to say that, it's the truth. And that's Hulk Hogan. Hogan did something in the 80s that no one else did or will ever be able to do. The 80s, he brought so many eyes to wrestling. Then in the 90s, changed up and was able to bring more eyes into wrestling when everybody knew Hogan was done. As much, again, as I don't like the man's character, I don't like his politicking, but you have to be willing to give that man the credit he deserves on the Mount Rushmore of wrestling. For me, it's going to be Rick, Hogan, Bruno Sammartino, and believe it or not, John Cena. As much as John, again, him and Hogan has so many similarities, but at least for me and John started out so much cooler, and his politicking wasn't as known and irritable as Hogan's to me. But those are the top four guys I would give.
All right. Rick, definitely agree with. Another one that I would put up there would be Taker.
I was that close on saying Taker, honestly. I really was.
And the reason why is he's done so much for younger talent as well. He'd put them over without blinking an eye. And he stayed true to character and to kayfabe for as long as he could. He lived that gimmick and respected that gimmick. And it was such in front of the camera and backstage. Would anybody that came up, the first person that would go and talk to them would be Taker. And if you needed somebody to be under the wing, he'd take them under the wing. He would give them advice. And to me, that speaks volumes. Hogan, I don't know. Yeah, he was good in the 80s. I still don't know if I'd put him up there. Yeah, I don't know. That's I have a hard time doing that. Yeah, he did a lot for wrestling, but a lot of the behind the scenes stuff and his character and how he is in real life kind of put him a little bit further down on that list. So, all right. So for 4, man. All right. So Rick, I'd have to go Sting, Taker, and Cousin John.
And no one's Mount Rushmore is going to be 100% correct. Everybody has their opinion.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And if you ask anybody, they will tell you how much disdain I have for Hogan. But again, Hogan was able to bring it to the mass like nobody else could. And if we didn't have that Hulkamania run, where would the business be?
Yeah.
And again, and then he turned around and he made the NWO thing. I mean, that was crazy.
Yeah.
Hey, I hate to do this. Can I pause for 1 sec?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. It's all right. So, while he's doing that, I'll keep talking here. One of the things that I think about Hogan is, and he gets a lot of credit for wrestling in the 80s. And you, of course, have that iconic moment where he picks up Andre the Giant and slams him down. And in doing so, tore a bunch of back muscles. And so Hogan gets a lot of credit for that. Finally, the man that was able to slam Andre the Giant. When the truth of the matter is 90% of that credit goes to Andre. Because if Andre didn't want to get slammed, Andre wouldn't get slammed.
And on top of that, that wasn't the first time that Hogan slammed Andre either.
Right. Yeah. And so, and yeah, he was instrumental. He was mainstream. But yeah, I still think that we have others that have done similarly that we could put up there as well. And that's what I love about wrestling and our fan base and culture is that we can have these discussions. And we know that it's not 100%. A lot of people would put Stone Cold up there.
Exactly.
The
Macho Man.
Whether it's The Rock. or a number of other wrestlers that have contributed a lot, we can have those discussions. Whereas another pop culture phenomenon that I'm sort of a part of still, which is Star Wars, man, they eat each other alive. Whether or not, if you don't like the product, you get massacred. If you like the product, you get massacred. There's no middle ground when it comes to them people. And that's what I love about wrestling is most of the time, and you could tell when we get together and we'll have someone will throw out a little nugget and see who's going to go for it. And then we'll just give them the business, but it's all in good fun for the most part. Who's going to mark out the most, and let's see. So we're going to just throw this out there. So, but yeah. I mean, it's always fun to have those discussions and to get people's opinions and why that they think, or why they've put these people on there.
And I think, and one of the big things too, and this is with music, it's with TV, is all around. Most people are driven by memories. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people will put something in their memory bank because it reminds them of a certain time and things. And like Jerry the King Lawler, I know some people here in the Memphis area, Tennessee, will argue you up and down that the King is the greatest wrestler ever. And they have a right to that. But it's like, well, yeah, but he never wrestled this. He never did this. It's like, but you couldn't come to Memphis and beat him and expect to get out alive. And so I get it because we have those memories. Like, I was a big Macho Man fan. Mm-hmm. Love Macho. I think it was a couple of things that kept me from putting him on my top. Like you said, The Undertaker and the way he gave back and he held court. And it's like, man, and then I'm looking at Cena and I try to look at the bigger picture of not just wrestling, but what they were able to put out there and the content. And like you said, Taker lived his gimmick, especially in a time when everybody, Fake K is dead. Taker lived it as much as possible, wouldn't give interviews, wouldn't do stuff. And you just have to appreciate that level of professionalism.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But all right, let's some storylines that are going down since we talked about some storylines here. And how much we enjoy those. Where to start? All right. Money in the Bank finishes. So we had a briefcase winner for each side, men's and women's. And we actually got one of the more faster cash-ins than we've had in recent memory. What'd you think of Drew winning the Money in the Bank and his cash-in attempt?
I thought to myself, okay, it can only be Drew. None of the other guys legitimately could do anything with it. Not that they shouldn't have been able to, but I knew they just wasn't going to do it. Then I thought to myself, oh, they're going to waste the Money in the Bank on this storyline that's already has steam. You could have added something else besides this Money in the Bank, destroy this Money in the Bank. And on top of that, we continuously do not build the next guy. So I was a little frustrated, but I can truly say that I enjoyed it because not only did him and Punk do exactly what I thought, I did not see them adding Seth into it like that. And I thought that was a great touch. For everything I hated about the Money in the Bank winner, it got over with me, and I can't complain about it.
I'm right there with you. There was nobody to gain out of. I knew Chad wasn't going to win. Gable wasn't going to win. He's already involved in the Wyatt Six stuff. Jay, mid card Jay Uso wasn't going to win.
And he got the bloodline stuff he's going to be going into.
Right. So you knew that wasn't going to happen. The clear winner in that one was had to be Drew. And my question was, all right, are they going to bring in Punk just to take it away from him that night, or is it going to be another night? Or because it's going to happen. And so I didn't mind the way that it happened. I actually kind of enjoyed it that it happened during the match rather than after the match. And so now you got that three-way battle that's going on. And then on the women's side, is it really Tiffy time? Do you think that the world is ready for Tiffany Stratton to take over?
Honestly, I still think she is a little green, but she had her move sets are just crisp, and I could argue with anybody that she has the prettiest moonsault. So I understand, and I knew it was going to be Tiffy time. I can't wait to see the pink briefcase because we all know it's going to be pink. Honestly, I think they missed the gem right there with Chelsea Green. I think if they would have pivoted to Chelsea Green, they could have got so much mileage out of that. Chelsea, she was the star of both. I mean, the selling of her being afraid of heights to getting smashed on the outside and the way she falls and just sells like she is out is just beautiful. And for her to go through them tables, oh my God, that was the prettiest fall and sell ever. That made me so much more of a Chelsea Green fan that now I catch myself wanting her to win the title because I know her and Piper can do so much with that.
Oh yeah. I agree. As annoying as she is, she eats it up and is a star. Underdog of the match, resilient, sold like nobody's business. I agree with you 100%. I thought it was going to be Chelsea time instead of Tiffy time, but did she need it? No, not really. Because she does so well on her own without it anyway. I think they're trying to put up the next big women's star, and which is the reason why they went with Tiffy. We'll see how that goes. I don't know.
And on top of that too, with her and Nia, that's going to be something good, I think, because no question to me, Nia is going to beat the hell out of Bailey at SummerSlam.
Yeah, I think so. Not that she. I'm not a big Nia fan. She kind of like I said this about Braun Breaker. She gets a little too ahead of herself, and accidents happen. Is she a good wrestler? Yes. Does she have a lot of excitement? Sometimes too much. And I think that's a problem. She doesn't let her emotions get too carried away, and she doesn't think far enough ahead, and she doesn't mean to hurt people, but I need to land this move. I need to do it now, instead of making sure that the person's in the correct position, whether it's what's her name, Lyra, where she sat down too low on her, and she should have been up further. Well, quick check would have seen that she wasn't in position. Yes, she slipped off the rope a little bit, but she wasn't ready for it. So, but yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Speaking of Breaker, I'm kind of at a loss. I thought I knew what they were going to do. I thought we were going to have a new Intercontinental Champion. But apparently, scuttlebutt is WWE has changed their plans for Braun Breaker. And instead of being Intercontinental, they're thinking bigger picture and wanting him more in the spotlight for the heavyweight. And I think that could be interesting. I wouldn't mind seeing a program for Braun Breaker and Gunther.
And they have been selling it like mad that the only few people that have beat Gunther is Dragunov and Braun and Sammy. I think, well, I said that he wasn't going to win it, that they were going to do it's going to be a 2 pay-per-view cycle, that he's going to win at SummerSlam. I still think that's the plan. I think that Gunther is going to be that massive heel. And you definitely don't want Braun. You just flipped him, and he's doing an amazing job as a heel. So yeah. I believe, yes, go ahead and let him beat Sammy. That gives Sammy an opportunity to get another shot at the world title. You can build up some more individual faces, because that's what they're going to need, because Damian is going to will be a face. So you're going to have him. You're going to have Seth, who's going to be caught up with the CM Punk Drew stuff. So you got to build faces. So I still think that Braun's going to win, and it gives him a chance to build up to that next level. Mm-hmm. Sometimes WWE has a tendency wanting to rush things. Sometimes you got to let it sit on the stove a little while and let it get nice and hot. Just because it's looking good doesn't mean it's time to take it off the pot. Off the fire, rather.
Yeah. So, and speaking of storylines that have simmered and are now boiling over, we come to the Judgment Day. And man, is this multifaceted, where you got Damian that says Judgment Day wouldn't be, the same if it wasn't for me. And you got, Finn that just signed a 5-year extension and telling him, yeah, whatever you say, boss. So we know that something's coming there. And then you have the return of the century between Dominic and Liv and Miss Brutality, Rhea Ripley. What do you think about Rhea's return?
I thought two things. One, they could not have been more obvious that she was coming back. Like, geez, just put a little neon light. Nia's coming back. Nia's coming back. And the second thing, well, yeah, I said two, but it's actually three. The second thing is, as WWE has gotten much better at having tremendous shots, they had the most crappiest shot of Mommy coming to the ring. I was so like, is my TV fuzzy? I'm hitting him like, what in the world? But with all that being said, I loved it. It just plays great. Everything is going to boil over at SummerSlam. And now you're going to have Damian become a face because Finn is going to kick him out. They're going to kick him out, clearly. Two, Mommy's going to get kicked out. It's going to be Finn, Carlito, ex-Condom, JD, and Miss Liv Morgan.
All right, yeah. I love the build up. So when Damian got on the phone and he's like, "Well, where are you?" I was like, "Oh, all right, I know she's there." But they sold it so well that it was just like the audience is the only one that knows that she's there. And then when you have the match and the match ends and you see that moment where Dom goes back and then is like, all right, and leans in, and that smile, they timed it perfectly. Unlike the time when the music was supposed to hit and Damian was supposed to kick out, perfect timing. That forehead touch, both of them are smiling. Cue the music. Liv hightails it out the back of the arena, and Mommy comes walking in. And yeah, the shot wasn't that great. Why they chose that camera angle, or they got like 15 cameras. They could have chose a better one. And they did fairly quickly after that.
Right.
Yeah, it was. I thought it was gold. I don't know where it's going to go with this. I think Damian is got to be the face now, going up against the heel Gunther. He's going to lose. Gunther will have the belt. What is he going to turn around? And it's like I can almost see, Judgment Day coming down to the ring to help him out, and then Finn's like, nope, go to the back, and he's going to take care of his business himself. We're going to let him, and then he loses, and that's when maybe Finn attacks him afterwards or something. So you'll have Finn and JD, Carlito. I think Mommy is now going to be is now considered a face. So I don't know if she's going to be in there. You have that triangle that's kind of iffy. I don't know who's going to go with who, because Liv doesn't want Dom. She only said that just to take him away, because that's what she told Rhea. I'm taking everything away from you. And so I think he's going to get high and dry. I have a feeling they're going to do a reunion, and him and deadbeat dad Ray are going to make up. And I don't know. I think that you might see a face turn for Dominic. It's hard to say where they're going to go with that, but I'm all for it. I'm invested in it now. Now I want a good payoff. let's see where it goes.
Exactly.
So I got two more things, and I'm not sure which one to talk about first. All right, we'll go with this one. We'll save Cousin John for last. We keep getting promos. We keep seeing the terrorization of Chad Gable. What are your thoughts on this new version of the Wyatt family or the Wyatt Six?
To be truthful, I was definitely not a fan of it at first. My thoughts were, rest in peace, Bray. They are not going to be able to get the story nowhere close to his vision. I can say that I've been truly wrong. Bo has put on some amazing work. WWE has been doing it the correct way, not too fast, not too slow. You're getting a nice, proper build. I don't know where it's going to go with Chad and why they keep torturing Chad. I think that time is going to tell how they can go from here. It has a lot of great elements to it, again, that I didn't think they could pull off. Bo, geez, I'm going to use this. I believe now. I'm a believer. He's definitely has done so much. The promos have been just excellent. And now I want to see where it goes. If they can get the wrestling around it, it's going to be awesome.
Yeah. And that's where I am as well. I love the cinema aspect of their storytelling so far. As long as we get wrestling that holds up to accompany these promos and this mystique, then I think that they'll be in a good spot. This last promo that they did, I'm thinking that we're actually going to get them wrestling without masks, which I like. I like that. I've never really been fans of other than, say, lucha style masks. I think that now that everyone has now seen their faces, other than Abby, which I don't know what they're waiting on there. I don't know if they're going to try to intermingle Alexa in with Abby. Oh, my TV just turned on because I said Alexa. But I don't know what they're going to do, or even if she's going to be involved in it. So we are going to see some stuff that uncharted territory there. But I'm for it. I love it. I love the build. I hope we get some more interviews with some of the other members, similar to the way that we did with Bo. But I agree with you, whether he's going to go by Taylor or Bo or whatever, because we still don't know what name he's going to use other than Howdy. I'm there for it. So the last piece that I have, and then we'll wrap up here. John Cena announced his retirement, but he didn't just say, "Hey, I'm done. Thanks for everything." He's basically given an open invitation to whoever. And if you want some, come get some. And it's going to last a whole year or thereabouts. Thoughts? What do you think about that announcement and the type of send off that John's doing here?
I really don't have a problem with it. I honestly think that is Daniel Bryan is for saying, "Hey, this is it. You getting a year out of me." I don't have a problem with that. I guess my biggest problem was, why did you have to do it at the PLE? But I mean, John is John, and he's gonna show up and do John things. So the announcement I don't have a problem with. The matches I don't have a problem with. It'll be a good way to go out. I just hope and pray that they do not do the one thing that will just destroy me, and that is letting him win one more world title and overtake Flair.
Yeah.
And I know what it is my bias towards Flair. But I hope they don't. And we can get some pretty good matches depending on who he takes on. I mean, like the WrestleMania, what he did with Austin Theory was terrible. So I want someone credible, someone he can do a good thing. Like, as much as it's going to pain me to say this, him and Punk I'm okay with.
Yeah.
I'm okay with him and Randy because they were foes, so I'm okay. He definitely needs to mix it up with some younger guys too. I'm okay with that. It's just don't overshadow John. And like, maybe if the last one is, hey, SummerSlam, SummerSlam Survivor Series said this is definitely his last one. Okay, make it the main event. I get that. But everything in between, man, and I like John Cena. I really do. But as we all get older, we can't do what we used to do.
Right.
And so if they handle it correctly, I'm okay with it. And I'm glad that he's getting to go out the way he wants to. He's earned that.
Yeah.
As I think. He's put so much in the business. He was the Hulk Hogan of his era. So
I would love for his last match to be against his number one fan, the one that watched him when he was a kid, and that would be R-Truth.
That would be perfect.
If we could get that for the last match, I'd be in heaven. Just two consummate performers that just entertain people. I don't even care if it's the last match. I want to see that match. I just want to see it, and just let R-Truth be R-Truth and have as much fun with it as we can. We already saw them wrestle together, so I want to see them match up against each other just for fun, just to entertain the crowd. And
to hear R-Truth come up with some cocky baby reason to wrestle him.
Oh yeah. Whether he calls him Hulk Hogan or Brock Lesnar or something, I'm wrestling the greatest of all time. I think his name is Brock Lesnar, and it ends up being John Cena, or something, just right. Yeah. Oh, would absolutely love it. I don't know who we're going to get. I've heard all sorts of different kinds of rumors going around that, it's going to be high profile matches. I've heard that, that they want to give him the title shot and give him one last title. I hope they don't. He doesn't need it. I would much rather just throw on some classic matches with Punk, Randy, even throw in, if The Rock's not busy, throw in one last Cena versus Rock. Would love to see that again. I'm sure we'll get Cody versus Cena. I don't know. We have some time. As long as it's done right and handled right, which I think that they will. I think it'll be good. And yeah, he deserves it. Absolutely deserves it. So, but hey, you know what? That's all I had as far as questions go. And man, we've been talking for about 2 hours now.
Yeah.
And I know that if I let it to just continue to roll, we could just probably talk all night long about stuff.
Yeah,
But
we probably could.
but it's 8:30 here. It's 10:30 over on the East Coast over there. So I still have to get dinner and make sure my kids are out of the pool and all that kind of fun stuff. So I think we're going to call it there tonight. Open invitation anytime that you want and you're available and you want to come on and talk some wrestling. I will make a spot for you.
You know, I always appreciate that, man. And like you said, for the little time that we've known each other, it's just like we grew up neighbors, and we just don't. It's like, oh wow, we get to, hey, yeah. So I definitely appreciate you. I love your show. Anytime you need me, want me, I'm there for you.
I appreciate you, brother. All right. Well, get some rest. Don't worry about the website. It'll take care of itself. It's getting late. Get some rest, spend some time with the wife, and enjoy the rest of your evening. Really appreciate it. You can find Professor Bear over at WSN. If you go to the website, create a profile, and you can even talk to him yourself. And I'm telling you, that's one of the awesome things about the website. We're all available. We all love to talk. So just go visit us, check out the website, create a profile, drop us a message, watch some content, buy some merch, have fun with it. So until next week, folks, which I don't know what I'm going to be doing next week, probably more of the same. We'll see you next time. Have a great evening, folks.